The Outsiders. They were just kids when this movie turned them into legends. One of them became one of the biggest stars in Hollywood history. One died far too young. One walked away from fame almost completely. One battled addiction for years. Another became a global heartthrob, only to leave behind a story that still breaks fans' hearts. And the beautiful girl caught between the greasers and the socks grew up to become one of the most respected actresses of her generation. Stay with me, because what really happened to the cast of The Outsiders is far more dramatic than anything Francis Ford Coppola ever put on screen. These were not just actors playing troubled teenagers. In many ways, they were about to live through fame, heartbreak, addiction, reinvention, and loss in real life too. See Thomas Howell as Ponyboy Curtis. He was the quiet kid with the face of an angel, and overnight, he became the heart of one of the most beloved teen films ever made. Christopher Thomas Howell was born in Los Angeles, California on December 7, 1966, and he was just 16 years old when he was handed the role of Ponyboy Curtis, the sensitive dreamer whose view of the world gave The Outsiders its soul. But here is what made him different from most of the boys around him. He was not just another handsome teenager hoping for a lucky break. He was already a trained performer, a former rodeo child star, and one of the few in the cast who came in with real professional discipline. Coppola saw something fragile in him, something innocent, something that could carry the emotional weight of the whole story. He was not the loudest, he was not the flashiest, but he was the one the audience had to believe in, and he delivered. Ponyboy became one of the most recognizable teenage characters of the entire 1980s. After The Outsiders, Howell moved fast. Red Dawn, Secret Admirer, The Hitcher. For a few years, he looked like he might become one of the biggest young stars in America. And then Hollywood did what Hollywood always does. It moved on. The teen idol phase faded. The leading man momentum slowed. But unlike so many child and teen actors, Howell did not disappear. He just kept working. Film after film, television after television role, quietly surviving an industry that destroys most young stars before they turn 30. He married actress Rae Dawn Chong in the late 1980s, though the marriage did not last. Later he married and had children. As of 2026, C. Thomas Howell is still alive, still acting, and still forever remembered as the boy who stayed gold. Matt Dillon as Dallas Winston. He played the toughest greaser in the film, and for a while, he looked like he might become the next great American screen rebel. Matthew Raymond Dillon was born in New Rochelle, New York, on February 18, 1964. He was 19 years old when he stepped into the leather jacket of Dallas Winston, the damaged, dangerous hood with dead eyes and a broken soul. Dally was the character audiences never forgot, hard on the outside, already half destroyed on the inside. The kind of young man who looks doomed the second he walks on screen. Matt Dillon did not have to fake that intensity. By the time The Outsiders came out, he was already a rising teen star with Over the Edge, My Bodyguard, and Little Darlings behind him. He brought real edge to the cast, real menace, real heat. Among all those young actors, Dillon felt like the one most likely to explode off the screen, and he did. Then came the next phase, drugstore cowboy, singles, To Die For, There's Something About Mary, Crash. He avoided the curse that kills so many teen stars by doing something very few of them can do. He grew up without losing his mystery. He stayed famous, but never overexposed. Successful, but never desperate. Handsome, but never soft. He has famously kept most of his private life private. No tabloid chaos. No career collapse. No public breakdown. Just steady work and respect. In a cast full of dramatic life stories, Matt Dillon may be one of the rare ones who actually outran tragedy. As of 2026, he is in his early 60s, alive, respected, and still one of the coolest men ever to wear a leather jacket on screen. Ralph Macchio as Johnny Cade. He played the quiet, beaten-down boy who made the whole audience cry, and just 1 year later, he would become one of the most iconic underdogs in movie history. Ralph George Macchio Jr. was born in Huntington, New York, on November 4, 1961. He was 21 years old when he played Johnny Cade, even though he looked much younger. That baby face became one of his greatest weapons. On screen, Johnny looked wounded before he even spoke. Small, frightened, already marked by life. He was the softest tragedy in the whole movie. Macchio's performance gave The Outsiders its tenderness. When Johnny broke, the film broke with him. And Hollywood noticed. Fast. Because only a year later, he landed The Karate Kid. And that changed everything. Daniel LaRusso made Ralph Macchio a worldwide star. For millions of people, he stopped being Johnny Cade and became the Karate Kid forever. But here is the strange part. What looked like a curse eventually became a gift. Macchio spent years fighting the shadow of one iconic role, only to later embrace it completely. He kept working in television, films, and theater, but the giant comeback came decades later with Cobra Kai. Suddenly, an entirely new generation discovered him, and the old fans came rushing back too. Unlike so many former teen stars, Macchio's life stayed remarkably stable. He married his longtime sweetheart, Phyllis, and built a family life far away from the chaos that swallowed so many 1980s idols. As of 2026, Ralph Macchio is still alive, still working, and still proving that the shyest boy in the room can sometimes last the longest. Patrick Swayze as Darrel Curtis. He was not even one of the biggest names in the cast yet, but within a few years, he would become one of the most loved leading men in the world, and his ending would devastate millions. Patrick Wayne Swayze was born in Houston, Texas, on August 18, 1952. He was already 30 years old when he played Darrel Curtis, the hard older brother carrying the weight of an entire broken household on his shoulders. He was older than most of the cast by nearly a decade, and you can feel it in the performance. Darrel is exhausted, angry, protective, already halfway into adulthood while the boys around him are still pretending they have time. Swayze brought real authority to the role. He looked like somebody who had already suffered, somebody who had already buried his childhood. It was one of the earliest signs of what would later make him unforgettable, masculinity with pain underneath it. Then came the explosion, North and South, Dirty Dancing, Ghost, Point Break. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, Patrick Swayze was not just a star, he was a phenomenon, tough and tender at the same time, romantic without being weak, dangerous without being cruel. Hollywood almost never produces men like that anymore. He married Lisa Niemi in 1975, and unlike almost every other love story in celebrity life, theirs lasted. No scandals, no revolving door of marriages, just one woman, one marriage, one life together. That made what happened next even sadder. In 2008, Swayze was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He fought it publicly and bravely. The whole world watched him grow thinner, frailer, but he kept working as long as he could. On September 14, 2009, Patrick Swayze died at just 57 years old. And when he died, it felt like an era died with him. The strongest brother in The Outsiders turned out to have one of the most heartbreaking endings of them all. Rob Lowe as Sodapop Curtis. He was the prettiest boy in the movie, and for a while, he became the face of an entire generation of young Hollywood excess. Robert Hepler Lowe was born in Charlottesville, Virginia, on March 17, 1964. He was 19 when he played Sodapop Curtis, the golden, smiling brother whose warmth held the Curtis family together. In a movie full of pain, Sodapop was sunlight, easy charm, softness, beauty, the brother who still looked young enough to dream. Rob Lowe looked born to be famous. The camera loved him instantly. And after The Outsiders, the rise came hard and fast. Class, St. Elmo's Fire, About Last Night. He became one of the crown princes of the Brat Pack era, rich, handsome, adored, everywhere. And then it nearly all collapsed. By the late 1980s, scandal hit. His private life exploded into public humiliation, the kind of scandal that could have buried a career permanently. On top of that came heavy drinking and the usual self-destruction that follows young fame. But here is where Rob Lowe's story turns. He got sober. He rebuilt. He did the hardest thing a fallen young star can do. He came back with dignity. The West Wing, Parks and Recreation, 911, Lone Star. He reinvented himself as funny, self-aware, disciplined, and still absurdly charismatic. He married Cheryl Burkhoff and had 2 sons. As of 2026, Rob Lowe is alive, sober for decades, and one of the great survivors of 1980s Hollywood. Emilio Estevez is 2-Bit Matthews. He played the clown of the group. But behind that grin was the beginning of one of the strangest and most fascinating careers in the entire cast. Emilio Estevez was born in New York City on May 12, 1962. The son of Martin Sheen and the older brother of Charlie Sheen, Emilio came into The Outsiders with one of the most famous family names in Hollywood. And yet he refused to trade on it the usual way. He kept his own surname, he built his own path, and as 2-Bit, the smart-mouthed wisecracker with the switchblade and the comic timing, he gave the movie some badly needed energy. He was one of those rare actors who always seemed to be watching everything, listening, thinking, even when he was joking. After The Outsiders, he became one of the defining faces of the 1980s. The Breakfast Club, St. Elmo's Fire, Repo Man, Young Guns. Then later, of course, The Mighty Ducks, which turned him into a different kind of icon for a whole new generation. But Emilio's path never looked like the others. He was never as addicted to celebrity as the rest of the Brat Pack machine. He moved in and out of the spotlight. Acted, directed, wrote, disappeared, came back. He had high-profile relationships, including with Demi Moore, but his life never fully became tabloid theater. He seemed more interested in work than in noise. As of 2026, Emilio Estevez is alive, still respected, and still one of the most underrated talents to come out of that cast. The funniest greaser may have had one of the smartest careers of them all. Tom Cruise as Steve Randall. He barely had much screen time. And yet somehow, even then, you could already feel it. The hunger, the intensity, the future movie star standing right there in the background. Thomas Cruise Mapother IV was born in Syracuse, New York on July 3, 1962. He was just 20 years old when he played Steve Randall, Sodapop's best friend and one of the roughest greasers in the gang. It was not a huge role, not remotely. But when you watch The Outsiders now, knowing what came next, it feels surreal. One of the biggest stars in cinema history is right there, just waiting to ignite. And ignite he did. Risky Business, Top Gun, Rain Man, Born on the 4th of July, A Few Good Men, Jerry Maguire, Mission Impossible. Tom Cruise did not just become famous, he became an empire, a machine, a global box office force, unlike almost anyone before him. But massive fame came with its own strange mythology. The marriages, the public scrutiny, the obsession with Scientology, the increasingly mysterious private life, the stories around control, intensity, perfectionism. Cruise became both superstar and enigma, loved, mocked, admired, questioned, unstoppable all at once. And yet the work never really stopped. He kept running, literally and figuratively, through decade after decade of blockbuster cinema. As of 2026, Tom Cruise is alive, wealthy beyond imagination, still performing his own stunts, and still probably the most successful actor to ever emerge from The Outsiders cast. Diane Lane as Cherry Valance. She was the girl who looked like she belonged in another world, and in many ways she did. Beautiful, intelligent, distant, and far more tragic than she first appeared. Diane Colleen Lane was born in New York City on January 22, 1965. She was only 18 when she played Cherry Valance, the sock girl whose beauty and sadness made her one of the most memorable female characters in the film. In a story dominated by boys, Diane Lane had something the others did not: mystery, grace, a kind of sadness that looked almost too grown up for her age. She had already been acting for years, but The Outsiders pushed her into a new level of visibility. For a moment in the early 1980s, Diane Lane looked like she might become the next great American movie goddess. And then her career took a strange turn. Not failure, not collapse, just detours. Some choices did not land, some moments passed. Hollywood was not always sure what to do with a woman that elegant, that serious, that quietly powerful. But time was good to Diane Lane, better than it is to most actresses. She came back stronger with films like Unfaithful, which earned her an Academy Award nomination, and later with a long run of respected work across film and television. She married actor Christopher Lambert, had a daughter, divorced, later married Josh Brolin, and divorced again. Like so many beautiful women in Hollywood, her private life was far messier than her screen image ever suggested. As of 2026, Diane Lane is alive, admired, and still one of the classiest women to come out of 1980s cinema. Cherry Valance never really faded. She just grew older and more elegant. Leif Garrett as Bob Sheldon. He played the rich boy whose death changes everything. Off-screen, his own life would spiral into one of the saddest cautionary tales of 1970s and 1980s fame. Leif Per Nervik was born in Hollywood, California, on November 8, 1961. Better known to the world as Leif Garrett, he was already a teen idol before The Outsiders ever happened. Posters, magazines, girls screaming, the whole machine. In the film, he played Bob Sheldon, the sock boy whose violence sets tragedy in motion. It was not the biggest role, but it carried enormous weight. And real life hit much harder. Garrett's story became a long descent through addiction, arrests, career collapse, and public pity. The all-American teen dream came apart in slow motion. Drugs took over, fame curdled. The bright blonde idol of youth culture became another warning sign hanging over Hollywood. He had talent, he had fame, he had every advantage, and still the machine chewed him up anyway. As of 2026, Leif Garrett is still alive, but his story remains one of the saddest "what happened" arcs connected to the cast. So this is what happened to the cast of The Outsiders. One became a global action titan. One became a romantic legend and died too young. One fought scandal and addiction and came back stronger. One stayed steady for decades. One became a symbol of grace. One slipped into tragedy. And all of them, in one way or another, spent the rest of their lives chasing or escaping what happened when they were still just young faces in a movie about class, violence, loyalty, and loss. That is the strangest thing about The Outsiders. It was a story about kids who already looked marked by life, and then life really did mark them. Fame gave some of them everything. It nearly destroyed others. A few stayed gold, a few burned out, and a few turned into legends so large that it is hard to believe they all once stood together in the same little film. But for one perfect moment in 1983, they were not icons yet. Not cautionary tales, not comeback stories, not ghosts. They were just the greasers and the socks. Just kids pretending to understand pain before life taught them the real thing. And maybe that is why the movie still hurts. Because now we know what came after. Which cast story shocked you the most?